Greetings, YouTube. Welcome to the Centrist Guy Show. So I've been doing short form for a while now, and I actually wanted to start doing some long form content. So the first thing I wanted to do is put my bias on the table. I like to consider myself a conservative Democrat. I'm pro-choice and I'm also pro-gun. So that meaning that I don't think any law you can implement really does anything as far as gun control is concerned, and it's not going to prevent criminals from getting guns, so why should regular citizens worry about actually getting guns legally? Next topic I'd like to cover is abortion. Oh, I'm just going for the easy ones, huh? So I'm actually consider myself pro-choice, but I would never advocate for an abortion in my lifetime, but I don't think it should be illegal. What we learned over this time period with Roe versus Wade being gone is there are no exceptions whenever we pass it and make it illegal in a state. Case in point, we just had Texas make it illegal, and a woman who literally is the case of the exception, her life and health is literally threatened by actually having a baby, but they want to force her to have the baby anyway, and they even threaten criminal prosecution if she gets an abortion. So anyone who's coming at this topic is pro-life, most of them are actually people who are super religious and don't care about anything as far as exceptions are concerned. They'll have you have stillborns and babies that are not viable. So I take it like this. If a woman gets pregnant because they had a night out with a guy they hardly knew and then they got pregnant and then they had an abortion, yeah, I think that's kind of fucked up. It's a shitty form of birth control. But when it comes to an actual person who was raped or has an exception as far as people are actually going to be harmed medically if they have the child, then that's why I think abortion should be legal. Just because there are no exceptions practically whenever you actually make it illegal in the laws. So as far as LGBTQ rights, I could care less about gay people getting married. If gay people want to be miserable like everyone else, hey, feel free. And also people who are trans, I couldn't care less. You can do whatever you want as long as you're not harming anyone else. And I also think that we should be compassionate towards one another and not actually shun anybody and give them the same rights as everyone else. I do think that we do need public programs. Even though the government does a fantastic job of screwing up the economy, there are some things I do think that the government needs to do. As far as like fighting climate change, we have a bunch of people who are anti-science and saying climate change is not affected by humans. Even if that were the case, we really don't have a planet to actually embark on this journey and to find out if it's actually real or not. So I really think that we should probably just treat it as it's actually man-made. We should actually care about the environment. But hey, call me crazy. What does blow my mind is the political climate we're in right now. You can't say whether Donald Trump or Joe Biden did good things. I could say that Donald Trump, actually more as I've gone on and learned about the dude, I definitely have become more agnostic on him. I don't think he's particularly good or bad. I mean, some of his rhetoric is some of the worst things I've ever heard from a president. But practicality, he did try to do criminal justice reform and actually do something about the border. So you can't fault him for doing some good things. Yeah, he did try to do a coup, but I mean, at the same time, he's not used to the political system in my mind because he wasn't a career politician. So he sees all this gerrymandering and bullshit that goes on every election cycle. He thinks he's special. He's not. Everyone cheats as much as they can. We just never had a president not concede. Then again, we did have Al Gore withdraw his concession and it went up to the Supreme Court and then he lost and then he did eventually concede, but I think that's particularly bad about Donald Trump. Joe Biden is actually literally someone who's of the establishment and always will be part of the establishment. Do I necessarily think Joe Biden is particularly bad? No. But at the same time, a lot of people see him as like one of the worst presidents ever. Inflation is really bad under him. Also, we had the disastrous pullout of Afghanistan, but he did actually just follow through with Donald Trump's plans. They weren't executed great, but I'm happy at least we're out of that war. It only took 20 years. Also, Joe Biden has been a lot more pro-labor than a lot of presidents, but at the same time, I don't think that particularly shines well for him because in our lives, it doesn't really seem to affect our wages because they always remain the same and never keeping up with inflation. Now I'm going to talk bad about both these guys. So Donald Trump, for people to pretend that he's some sort of peacenik, it just blows my mind because he increased the drone war by over 400% while he was president. And the drone war already had a horrible civilian death ratio, but it was even worse under Donald Trump. And also he made it harder to keep track of the numbers of the civilians killed under the drone war. Also, Joe Biden is a notorious liar, and he's also someone who said we would give us a public option. He didn't even bother proposing it. He also said he'd give us student loan relief. Not that that affects me. I don't have any student loans. Healthcare. So let's talk about this topic. So as far as I work in the healthcare industry, as far as like my job is concerned, I look at it this way. The Affordable Care Act did help some things, but it definitely made cost control a secondary factor because now healthcare costs are out of control. And basically, my insurance now that I get through the hospital is absolute dog shit. This is why I would advocate for a public option that Joe Biden said he would actually try to pass, and then he lied about it and he actually wasn't trying to pass it. Because I think that would give insurance companies some incentive to lower the prices, because they're actually competing with the government that doesn't actually try to make a profit, unlike the private industry we have right now. And me spitballing here, I think that it should just cover hospital visits and it should cover your general physician. That's it. Meaning if you want to go see a specialist, you have to get private insurance. That way, no one goes bankrupt if they end up in the hospital. That's how people get fucked in the healthcare industry, is when you actually have a problem you weren't sure you would have to go to the hospital, and then you go to the hospital and you get a ridiculous bill afterwards. Also, for everyone who hates me or loves me, I just want to say, you're accepting me as a whole package. There's some things I'm going to have takes on that you're going to love and agree with. There's a lot of things you're going to hear from me that sound dumb to you and you'd be like, oh, this guy's dumb as shit. Why do I listen to him? What I'm asking you is, I respect your opinion in the sense of like, oh, we just have a disagreement. So we should be able to disagree with one another as far as like actually coming to a better solution to ideas versus just like committing ad hominem, whatever it is. If you like what I say, or you at least want to hear another person's perspective who thinks about this type of stuff, I'm your guy. I'm the centrist guy. See y'all soon.